Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Jan Michael here, coming at you with another rankings video, this time for the best actor wins of the 2010s. Now look, I get that I've been stuck in the 2010s since the channel started, but I've got just one more video after this one. Just the best actress wins, and then we're moving forward to the 2000s. Or back, technically, you know what I mean. But before we get to that one, let's talk about these fucking dicks, right? Looking at the list as a whole, I don't think the 2010s was a bad year for the best actor races. I can see why each of these actors won to some degree, even if I don't personally agree with the winner per se. That being said, there really was no one this decade that won where I thought, really? This person took home the award? Why? They fucking suck! Though, I feel some of you may disagree with that sentiment. Regardless, they were all winners. But were they all winners? In my eyes, that's the important question. And I suppose we're gonna start off this section by talking about those actors whose win was fine. Yeah, the performance itself was fine. The actor came in, he did their job, and then they fucked right off. And what more can we have possibly asked for? I mean, seriously, they won the Oscar. What more could we have asked for? And we're starting things off with Jean Dujardin for The Artist. The Artist, the beginning of my cynicism for cinema. Look, I remember when The Artist first came out, how everybody was fucking going crazy for it. And I'll admit, I was on that bandwagon for a while as well. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, wait a minute. This is the pinnacle of what we can do with silent films? No silent films, really, for a long-ass fucking time, and this is the best we could do? No! But the craze was there, and along for the ride was Jean Dujardin, a French actor who was brought in due to director Michael Hazanavich's previous films that Jean also appeared in. And it's a good thing he did, as The Artist no doubt skyrocketed Jean's career. I'll admit, he brings charm and personality to the role, and I can't imagine it being easy to act without the use of your voice. You have to overact to get the point across of the scenes, but not so much that it becomes too comical or distracting. It's a hard balance to get right, and Jean definitely pulls it off well. He's the right amount of expressive, and you do build a connection with him as the film moves along. But so what? Look, I know that sounds mean, and what I say next, I say with complete respect to Jean, because as I just acknowledged, it is a hard balance to get right, but I just don't see what about this performance made everyone go, oh, we need to give this guy an Oscar. I mean, this is definitely not one of the best silent performances of all time. And I'm stuck wondering, well, what if another actor had been in that role instead? Do they get the Oscar just because The Artist was such a big film at the time? And to kind of go off on a tangent here, can I just say when the character finally does speak at the end of the movie, it's just so awkward that I found myself thinking, man, this guy would definitely not make it into the speakies of that era. Speakies? Do they call them speakies? Talkies? Wordies? Anyway, look, the performance is fine. It's a fine performance, and that's really the only reason it's at the very bottom for me. Well, great. I've already insulted one actor's work, but you know what? At least it was somebody small. You know, it wasn't somebody super huge and famous that has his adoring fans who would defend him to the ends of the earth and may attack a frail individual such as myself. Yeah, thank goodness I didn't do that. Like, can you imagine if at the next spot I put like Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant? Whew, that would not bode well.
I can't let you go back out there. Not again.
I ain't afraid to die anymore. I've done it already. I'm going with you.
Poor Poor Leo. First nominated back at the 66th Academy Awards for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which many consider it to be his best performance, he's had the unfortunate track record of just always being nominated with someone stronger or someone who was having a huge surge that year. Heck, even the year that I thought he had the best claim to it with The Wolf of Wall Street, turns out that was the McConaissance era, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, he's just always had a very unlucky streak with the Oscars. So, The Revenant. Yeah, I don't think this is Leo's best. It's not like he does a bad job, but to me it's just another fine performance. It's a role anyone could have filled, and would that have resulted in an Oscar win for them? Or did Leo win because it was his best chance at the award ever? The thing that works against Leo in just about every single role he's in is that he always just looks like he's playing another version of himself. That's not to say they're bad performances, he does portray the emotions very well, but it's harder to be fooled because of it, and his performance here is pretty much the same. His struggles and his hate are portrayed very well, but you never see it as that character's struggles or hate. You see it as Leo's, despite, him not playing himself. Like, when you end up using an actor's name instead of the name of the character he's playing, that's kind of a problem. It's a tough barrier to break through, especially when you're that big of a star and so recognizable. And heck, maybe that's why so many big actors just never go on to win the Oscar or even get nominated. But luckily, Leo got his. It's not for his best, but it'll do, I guess. But hey, maybe there is a more worthier win in the future. As at the moment of this recording, we've got The Killers of the Flower Moon coming out later this year, which a lot of early buzz has said that is Leo's best performance ever. So maybe we will get that worthier win soon. Or maybe it's back to business as usual. Wow, no. Alright, now that we got the fine performances out of the way, let's move on to those ones that impressed. Maybe not overly so, but hey, if you squint your eyes enough, maybe you'll walk out of the movie somewhat entertained. And honestly, what better way to start off this segment than talking about Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody?
I know what I'm doing. I got a feeling I should be doing alright. Doing alright. I was born with 4 additional incisors. More space in my mouth means more range. I'll consider your offer.
I feel like Rami has developed this sort of backlash with the general public as of late. It's one of those weird backlashes that people just latch onto for no real reason. Well, I mean, there's reasons, they're just not good reasons. I think in the case of Rami himself, it's because people turn to me and go, wow, he fucking sucked in Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, and that's why we need to hate him? I don't fucking get it, but whatever. I do think that also stems from the fact that he went on to win the Oscar for the performance, which a lot of people didn't think he was deserving of, but I guess that's what we're here to talk about. Well, I think it's safe to say that many people were not fooled over his portrayal of Freddie Mercury in the film. Sure, he looked the part, but when it came down to actually being the man, it was a misfire. Or so people would have you think. And I do think maybe it's a little bit disappointing when you do hear he didn't actually sing any of the songs but was lip syncing. So if I'm being honest, that does kind of bring it down just a notch. But taking a step back, I don't think it was a complete miscast. I do think there is a strong performance hiding underneath, and there are moments it bubbles up to the surface. And maybe that's why it's so frustrating for many people, because they wanted to see him take it further. But I don't think that automatically makes it a bad performance that he didn't do so. Now, let it be known that I do not think Rami's performance was the best that year. Definitely not where my vote would have been cast. But I don't think it was a bad performance. I do think there was a foundation there that could have grown. and call me stupid or crazy or attribute it to the makeup and nothing else, but I do think we could have gotten something so much better if there was just more time dedicated to the performance. The reason that didn't happen, I have no clue. Maybe it was time restrained, maybe it was poor directing, maybe Rami's fucking lazy, I have no fucking clue. But I do think it is a good performance. It just falls short of being great. Now, following up that one is another actor that's kind of in the same boat, and that's Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything.
You have said you do not believe in God. Do you have a philosophy of life that helps you?
I do think the best part about this performance is as soon as he gets into the chair. That's really when he does transform into Stephen Hawking. And I don't know, the obvious criticism is like, well, he's just fucking sitting in a chair motionless. What's so hard about that? And shut the fuck up. It's not just about sitting in the chair. It's expressing the emotions that come with being confined to this chair, to falling in love, but knowing what you are slowly becoming, and wanting to do so much more with your life and with things that require mobility, but you know you cannot do. And it's even worse because you used to have that. You remember what it was like. So no, it's not about just sitting in a fucking chair. But Eddie does do a great job here, and I feel that many others also saw that performance shine through. There's no denying that everything before we get to that point does feel like you're just watching Eddie and not Steven, but once you get past that, it is very impressive. And heck, maybe it's because the movie was a romance, and that's what turned most people away. You probably don't normally associate that topic with Stephen Hawking, so maybe people just couldn't get past that. But plenty of others did, and ended up giving him the Oscar win because of it. I think there's plenty to Eddie's talents as an actor, and turn to his other nomination in The Danish Girl as proof of that. Though I suppose that role has come under its own criticism, so here's hoping he shows up at the Oscars again sometime in the future. Look, I like him in the movie, okay? I agree the film is not fantastic, but we're here to look at the performances. And with that in mind, I think this is a fair spot for him to be in. Oh, I can see I lost a couple of you with those last two picks, so let me continue to fumble my way through this with Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club. Yeah, it was the reconnaissance era, baby! And there weren't a lot of people that did not think he was gonna win the Oscar that year. Except for those that wanted to see Leo win, but I digress. This is a fantastic performance. A very real performance of a man that is dying and does whatever he can to not only just save himself, but save those around him as well. And I know your immediate deflection is, no, this is a cliche character, it's the white savior trope, which it is, but you've activated my trap card, and I counter-argue with, that is a problem with the script and not the performance. Let's start off with the biggest problem here, and that's that at times all you really see is Matt. He still has those mannerisms that show up in every role he does, and I really just don't think he's capable of losing them. But that being said, they do fit into his character here, and I think add to the charisma that he has. It's funny to think that something that would normally hurt an actor actually works for Matt's benefit here, but look, I can totally understand if you can't get past those mannerisms or can't see him as the character he's portraying. Still, I do think this may be Matt's best work to date, and it impressed many voters to eventually give him the win. It's one of those performances that you immediately think, oh shit, this is his only chance to win! and thus you have to let him win. So, well, I know that's selling him short, but I feel most winners are like that. They get that one role that fits perfectly for an Oscar win, and then they never show up again. As a side note, can I just say that I really liked Matt's Oscar acceptance speech that year, where he talked about how every single time he got to a desired age, he would say, no, this is not who I want to be. I want to be who I'm going to be 5 years from now, and kind of so on and so forth. It's a really good speech, and if you haven't had a chance to do so, just look up the clip, because I do think it's very well worth listening to. Alright, let's wrap up this section with Colin Firth for the King's Speech.
I don't care how many royal
Listen to me.
arseholes have sat in
Listen
this
to me!
chair.
Listen to me!
Listen to you by what right?
By divine right, if you must. I'm your king.
No, you're not. You told me so yourself. You said you didn't want it. Why should I waste my time listening to
Because
you?
I have a right to be,
Heard
and
of
I
what?
have a voice!
I don't think I'm giving any sort of hot take by saying that I don't think the King's Speech is that marvelous of a movie. Like, I don't think it's god-awful, but my god, is it so vanilla. I mean, come on, sprinkle some Jimmys all over that shit. Because as of right now, there's just like one lone Jimmy. Like a singular Jimmy. And that Jimmy's name is Colin Firth. Way to carry the film on your back, Colin. I don't think there's anyone else on this list that has kept their respective movie from sinking as much as Colin did. Sure, there are those that were the best thing about the respective films, but to be the element that is probably the reason it went so far is something else. Question: would the film have been as well received if not for the strong performance by Colin? Answer: I don't know. Probably to some degree depending on the actor, but I stand by that the King's Speech is all Colin. Sure, there are plenty that said Jeffrey Rush and Helena Bonham Carter also helped elevate it, and while they do their job, and I like the friendship between Colin and Jeff, it's Colin that knocks it out of the park here. And again, I know it's easy to say he's just stuttering, what's the big deal, but it's not just about the stutter, though that is impressive in its own right. It's the way he carries himself, the way you see a man that has been shaped by his past, one that still has pride but is scared. I won't say Colin completely hides himself, but he does the best of pretty much everyone else on this tier. Quite honestly, I almost thought about placing him in the tier right above this one, but these next performances are just so goddamn impressive that I just don't think he quite stacks up to that level, so he's just gonna be at the very top of this next tier. So there's that for you. Moving on. Alright, enough dick sucking these losers. Let's get to the real reach around. The performances that are just so goddamn spectacular that you see these actors as the characters. There can be no other way. And we're starting things off with Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour.
Will be reasonable.
When will the lesson be learned? When will the lesson be learned? How many more dictators must be wooed, appeased, good God, given him mixed privileges, before we learn? You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Can I just say that I'm fucking baffled that Gary only has 3 fucking Oscar nominations? I remember when he first got the nomination for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, like the comments everywhere were like, finally, how has he not had an Oscar nomination before? And yeah, I fucking agree. How the hell did he not have one before that? And can you believe it was a full 6 years between that one and this one? Fucking disgraceful. Gary has the ability to completely camouflage into any role he takes on. Most of the time when his name appears in the credits, I hear people saying, that was Gary Oldman? It just takes a special something to pull that off as often as he has. Now, of course, it's one thing to look the part, it's another thing entirely to be able to deliver on the part. Just look at what we discussed with Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody. But then you realize it's Gary Oldman, so no problems there because he is the full package. Gary actually spent a year studying Winston Churchill's behavior before filming Darkest Hour, and that goes to show just how committed he was to the role. It's easy to see this person as the actual Winston rather than just Gary, which is indicative of a great performance here. And when you mix Gary's talents into the fold, you start to understand who the person really was and what they were probably going through at that moment in their life. If this film and performance made you even the little bit curious to know more about the actual Winston, then mission accomplished. That's what a great performance can do. And for those naysayers out there who thought he was a one-trick pony, he repeated the same feat in Mank that got him another Oscar nomination. And for those of you who have gone out and seen Oppenheimer, please tell me that you caught his performance, because his name's not in the credits. Unless somebody tells you or you actually catch him, you're not gonna know. Gary is a person that you don't say his name while watching the movie, you say the character's name. And that's pretty goddamn impressive. 3 spectacular performances left. I think the road is pretty clear from here on out, so let's talk about Joaquin Phoenix for Joker.
How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get
I don't think so.
when you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with your
loner
jokes.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Let me stop you right there, because I know you're about to say, well, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't fully transform until he becomes the Joker, and before that he's just Joaquin Phoenix. And no, because I know damn well while watching the movie you don't go, wow, Joaquin's laugh is fucking amazing, or poor Joaquin getting bullied by those asshats. You're saying Joker. Don't fucking lie. You're saying Joker. Nobody's going out there saying, oh my god, Joaquin Phoenix's brother's Batman. Though, that'd be pretty badass. Joaquin is another one of those actors that completely throws himself into his roles, for better or worse. I mean, look at that I'm Still Here mockumentary. Look, Joker is no exception. It would have been easy to just phone in this performance. It's DC, it's Batman, it's Joker, it's gonna make money. No need to reinvent the wheel here. Just give us a good laugh and let the money fly in. Yet he didn't do that. And for him to take the role so seriously and treat it with respect goes to show how much he cares about the craft. And that's the beauty of a respectful actor. I don't see them just accepting a role if they didn't care about it. And Joaquin does. For his body transformation to the unique laugh that he's created, he builds a Joker of his own. For me, the best comic book characters portrayed in film aren't the ones that you stack up against other performances, but the ones you accept on their own merits. That's why Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger's individual Jokers are so beloved. That's why this Joker performance is going to be beloved as well. Whatever your favorite, you can acknowledge they each have their strength. That's something that doesn't happen when casting is a misfire. Jared Leto. I remember during that Oscar year, there were so many people that were saying that Joaquin should have already won for The Masters. There was already respect for Joaquin and his craft. And there's plenty of times that you'll have those actors that give that one amazing performance and they just never show up again, and that's not Joaquin. He's going to continue to show up, I guarantee it. And I honestly see another win in the future for him as well. Alright, I'm not gonna bullshit you. I already knew who my number 1 was gonna be from the very beginning. So let's just talk about Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln next.
This amendment is that cure. We're stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilled to afford us this moment, now.
I know I can't be the only one who was heartbroken when Daniel announced he was going to be retiring from acting. I mean, he could have gone so much further, which is saying quite a bit because he already went goddamn far. I could have honestly seen him like holding records for most Oscars won for like leading male performance. Like he had that in him. But I'm getting off topic here. Performance for Lincoln. Let's go. How do you see this movie, or heck even clips of this movie, and not go, oh yeah, that's Lincoln? I mean, I didn't know the man personally and there's no footage of his mannerisms, but that's totally Lincoln. End of story. A title that I only ever previously accepted by Robert Barron in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Like, it just blows my mind that something like this can be done. But here's the thing, I don't think it can be done by just anyone. It had to be Daniel. Could others have delivered a good performance for that role? Sure. Heck, we could even have gotten amazingly great performances. But a practically perfect performance? Yeah, I just can't see anyone other than Daniel doing that. It's like that scene from the movie where Lincoln asked that guy if he believes that people are born in the era that they needed to be born in, and responds by telling Lincoln that, well, he probably was. Yeah, that's Daniel in this role. Look, Daniel basically created this person from scratch. Yes, there were pieces here and there to work off of, but I can't imagine a harder job than taking such an iconic person, someone that we don't really know the mannerisms, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he composed himself, and making a believable argument to how the man actually was. I have no doubt that going forward, this is the way people are going to think Lincoln actually was. That is goddamn impressive. You cannot argue with that. Again, I'm very sad that we're not going to see any more Daniel Day-Lewis performances in the future, because with things like this, performances like this, it's just always going to be mesmerizing to see that man act. So how the fuck does Casey Affleck top that?
And that's it. The log must have rolled out onto the floor. And the fireman said they pulled Randy out. She passed out downstairs. And then the furnace blew, and they couldn't go back in again. And that's all I remember.
God, I wish I could show you the full clip to that, because it's like one gut punch right after the other. It is fucking amazing. Alright, look, before I get too deep into that, we gotta talk about Casey here. Casey's a fucking asshole who does not deserve to be working in Hollywood right now. Yeah, like, I'm fucking serious. There were allegations surrounding him making unwanted sexual advances on 2 women who were working with him on the I'm Still Here film. And at first, as these sex pests tend to do, he shouted and he cried about how he was wronged and he was so angry with the situation because it didn't go down the way they said it did, and blah blah blah. Then, as is usually the case, he admits that he may not have behaved in the best way he should have. No fucking shit. But you know what? At least he was sorry for any hurt he may have caused and vows to do better. Go fuck yourself, Casey. Way to sour the #1 spot. Alright, just focusing on the performance for now. This is actually one of the closest times I've ever come to crying during a movie. Something that still hasn't happened, so good on the film and performance for getting me that close. It's funny because, taking a step back, Casey doesn't do anything here that fits with what I've been saying about the other performances. He doesn't completely hide himself, nor does he try to. You really only ever see him and probably even call the character Casey because that's basically who he's playing. He doesn't revolutionize this type of character like Daniel Day-Lewis or Joaquin Phoenix, nor does he change the way he talks or walks or presents himself like Gary Oldman. So what the hell? Why is he at #1? Well, frankly speaking, it's a very, very realistic performance, which makes sense since he's practically playing another version of himself. But with the other performances, as much as I think they are amazing or close to perfection, I'm always aware that it's just a performance in a movie. Which is fine, I'm not saying they failed because I was watching a movie. But with Casey in Manchester by the Sea, I didn't feel like I was watching a movie. I felt I was seeing someone's life. I was seeing something personal that maybe I shouldn't be. And I know it's weird to say because it's probably something most people did not feel, but I did. And because I did, I kept coming back to it over and over again. And I should say that I think Manchester by the Sea is just a fine film. I'm not in love with it by any means. It's the performance. I kept coming back to see the performance. Without Casey there in those scenes showing us those emotions, I don't think I would have gone back as much as I did. And I think that's one of the best compliments I can pay any performance, when they are the reason you want to go back. Could others have done it? Sure. Could they have done it better? Probably. But to me, that role is Casey. It's him. I'm seeing him. And that, I don't think, can be done any other way. But seriously, fuck Casey Affleck. Anyways, that's all I got for you for this rankings video. One more left. So please come back for that one and for more videos, of course. Like always, guys, let me know the ranking order that you would put them in the comments below if you feel inclined to. And until next time, stay safe out there and have a good one.